What's going on, people? It's the Xbot 448, and I want to caution you guys, I might go off on my first ever rant, but before I do that, I want to say I am still working on getting this podcast situated. I know there's been a delay or two, and I really apologize. I do have to shout out my boy K Mega 405. This dude has been incredibly patient. So many good things I could say about this dude. This dude, basically he's like, when it's up, we're on. He's gonna be in the podcast. He was basically the first dude I thought of when I decided to do a podcast, and just a major shout out to him, man, because like I said, he's been incredibly patient. He hasn't like given up on, just been like, what, I'm done with this and stuff. And I really think he's going to be a really good element to the podcast. Like I said, intelligent gamer, stuff like that. So major shout out, K Mega. Yo, thank you for hanging in there, with us. And yeah, so let's go to today's video. Like I said, I might go off on a rant here. I don't know if you can hear it right now, but my Twitter is absolutely blowing up. All right. And it's blowing up over one thing, which is the Uncharted 4, the 10 out of 10, all that good stuff, perfect scores. And all I did on Twitter was basically state that no game ever deserves a perfect score. For people who follow my channel, you know this. I made a video dedicated to how I do review scores. All right? No game, in my mind, is worth a 10 out of 10, a 5 out of 5, anything like that. No, there's no perfect game out there. But of course, you have people in the Twitter community and the YouTube community and stuff. They're saying, well, a 10 out of 10 doesn't represent a perfect score. Like, well, it just means that, the developers, when they had the idea in mind for this game, like, they completely accomplished the idea that they had, once they finished developing the game. Really? Because from what I see a 10 out of 10. To me, in my mind, all right, and to even to people who don't necessarily get into like gaming news and stuff like that, kind of casual like IGN browsers and stuff, they see a 10 out of 10 and they think, what? Come on, everybody say it with me now. They think perfection. And guess what? Not for anything, but there, like I said, there's no perfect game. If that was the case, if that was the only mindset into making a perfect game, the developers completely accomplished the idea they had in mind for the game when they started developing for it. Games like this one right here, Sunset Overdrive, would have been a perfect 10 out of 10. They completely accomplished their idea for this game. And this didn't get a 10 out of 10. Look at like Ori and the Blind Forest. Ori and the Blind Forest is an incredible platformer. All right, like the gameplay mechanics, the visuals, everything, the story, the characters, like you kind of, they're humorous, they're lovable, they're attachable, everything like that. Did Ori get a 10 out of 10? No. So that whole example is irrelevant. All right. Now, not for anything, when I think 10 out of 10, I think the story is completely immersive. The multiplayer, if there is, is completely addictive. But then not only that, in terms of tech, there are no stutters, there are no screen tearing, there are no frame rate drops, there are no pop-ins. And you'll never get a game like that. Especially like, there's pop-ins in a bunch of games, okay? Like there is an element on that tech side that is in every single game. I believe NX Gamer, shout out to NX Gamer, incredible channel on YouTube. He kind of analyzed some things in Uncharted 4, and they showed low-res shadows. Now for me, low-res shadows don't mean shit, alright? But it's just an example that on the tech side, alright, you're never going to get an absolutely perfect game. That 10 is there to represent kind of like a benchmark. Kind of like in some kind of Eastern religions where, you know, if you completely become one with yourself, you reach enlightenment. Enlightenment is that 10. Very, very few people in the world, and it's just kind of like stories and mythos that very, very few people have reached it. But it's a benchmark to kind of look towards, alright? You know, not for anything, if anything gets a 10 out of 10 perfect game, you know, that's it. It's all done. We should all just buy that game, nothing else, because nothing else will ever compare to it. Alright? I've also had people say, well, you know, since a 10 out of 10 doesn't represent, like, a perfect game, then, like, you're gonna have to go back and look at your 100s in school, and then, you know, kind of, dispute that. This person even said, I bet you I can find some things wrong with your you know, your perfect scores on your tests in school. It's like, well, dude, alright, here's the difference between that. School has many different subjects. I'm pretty sure you might be able to find some things wrong on my tests in school. But if I'm doing a biology test and I accidentally misspelled, like, there, I used the wrong, like, I used, you know, the wrong interpretation of that word, alright? I misspelled it. But you can see within the context of the sentence that, you know, I nailed everything about that biology question. Alright? I'm not going to have my biology teacher take points away from my biology test for an English mistake. Do you see what I'm saying? With school, there are many different subjects. When it comes to game reviews, you pretty much... I see most people doing one score now. Now, if they sectioned it off, if they did a score for graphics, you know, a score for fun factor, a score for replayability, stuff like that, then you can kind of use that analogy of school, right? All right, you can get a 100 in math, you could get a 100 in graphics. All right, something else somewhere, you're not going to get perfect straight across the board. All right. And that would be the analogy in school. So that analogy when it comes to game reviews, unless they're segmenting their reviews into categories, like the same way that school segments school into subjects, all right, then you can kind of see. All right. But all in all, I mean, it's been absolutely crazy. You know, yeah, you have people going back and forth, and I stick by my guns. And the way I review things, you're never going to see a 10 out of 10. Not only that, but a 10 out of 10, it does mislead people, all right? Now, I've had people say that casuals don't really get into reviews. They don't know about IGN and all that good stuff. Well, guess what? They kind of do. Because if they're interested in games, they're talking to, I don't know, employees at GameStop that are pointing them to reviews and stuff. Well, IGN said, well, what's IGN? Oh, yeah, no, that's a website. Like, they do review games and stuff like that. Oh, wow, I'm going to check that out. 10 out of 10. You see what I'm saying? Like, don't say that these scores don't affect the casual gamer market, because they do. Because you have places like GameStop, because you have Twitter. Alright, if somebody's interested in a game that's coming out and they have social media, which pretty much everybody does, they see these game reviews and stuff like that come out and they look at it number wise. Oh wow, 10 out of 10. It's absolutely asinine, the arguments that we're getting here, just because people don't believe in a perfect score on a game review. I don't know, as usual guys, let me know what you think. Definitely hit up that comment section. I felt like I had to make this video. It was completely insane what I was seeing on Twitter. It's like people done lost their effing minds. Alright? And it's not even like nobody's saying that Uncharted 4 is a bad game. I didn't say that. I haven't played it. Alright? Oh, one more thing. I apologize that I forgot to say this, but somebody told me that with what Naughty Dog has done within their history, they have proved themselves to be more worthy of a perfect score. All right, you put that together with them saying that, you know, how the developers, you know, fully fleshed out their plan for the game, their idea for the game, with the fact that Naughty Dog kind of deserves to be considered for perfect scores. Well, if that's the case, a game like Kinect Sports Rivals, all right, it's a game I enjoyed, all right, personally. I know there was other people out there when it comes to the Kinect and stuff, whatever, all right, but when Rare came out and made that game, they fully fleshed out their idea for that game, all right, Kinect game, fun, different types of sports, when it comes to like rock climbing and stuff like that. They fully implemented their idea of the game. Not only that, but if you say Naughty Dog is worthy, well, what about Rare? Rare has been around forever and gave us some of our biggest titles in the gaming industry. All right, they are world renowned, and especially in the industry. I mean, they are very well known, and if Naughty Dog deserves that consideration, don't you think Rare would as well? Even more? But I digress. Like I said, you know, hit up that comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I have a feeling the comment section is going to get a little crazy. If you like the content, you know, definitely hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. But as for now, this is the Xbot 448. And I am definitely signing off.
We're halfway to victory.